Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. The International Medical Laboratory Science and Quality Assurance Conference discusses the latest developments in this field. More than 230,000 tourists visit the Sultanate during the first quarter of the current year. The Sultanate signs a number of agreements at the Arabian Travel Market Exhibition in Dubai. And to promote and market agriculture produced of farmers of Jebel al-Akhdar, an agricultural hosting project is inaugurated. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. Developing skills of specialists in the field of medical laboratory science in the Sultanate and acquainting them with the latest developments in this field were topics discussed at the International Medical Laboratory Science and Quality Assurance Conference. It was organized by Al-Masara Hospital in the Governorate of Muscat. It aimed to improve the level of health services provided to patients related to laboratory tests. Around 100 specialists in the field of medical laboratory science from inside and outside the Sultanate took part in the conference. The number of tourists who visited the Sultanate during the first quarter of the current year amounted to more than 230,000 people, while the number of hotels increased to 300, providing more than 15,600 hotel rooms. These figures came as the government set up plans to develop the tourism sector as being one of the pillars to diversify sources of income of the national economy through encouraging the private sector to invest in this field and enhance promotion efforts internally and externally. His Excellency Ahmed bin Nasser al-Mahrazi, Minister of Tourism, said that the ministry's roles are to organize the tourism sector, gives licenses and promotes the Sultanate abroad. However, the private sector is the investor in this sector through providing various touristic facilities and services. The private sector has established during the last years a number of touristic complexes, resorts, hotels and restaurants, which represented a significant addition to the national economy, while Omani youths contributed to the development of this sector through establishing several small and medium-sized projects. During its participation in the Arabian Travel Market Exhibition in Dubai, the Sultanate signed a number of agreements and tourism contracts with Gulf and global companies. The Sultanate's pavilion in the exhibition attracted a huge number of visitors who expressed their admiration of tourism in the Sultanate. It was also an opportunity for small and medium-sized enterprises to present their programs and touristic services. The Sultanate's pavilion also highlighted aspects of the Omani heritage and history. On the sideline of the fair, Oman Air won the prize of the best airline company in the Middle East for both business and economy class. Facing health risks in the region and protecting it from cross-border viruses were the center of discussion at the 4th seminar of the Regional Office of World Health Organization in Cairo. The Sultanate's delegation to the event was led by His Excellency Sheikh Ali bin Khalfan Al Qutayti, Chairman of the Health and Environment Committee at the Shura Council. More than 90 countries took part in the gathering, which also discussed ways to coordinate to address various health challenges in the region. The three-day event also dealt with the status of health diplomacy and cooperation in the fields of health and foreign affairs. Still to come in our news bulletin. To curb huge housing shortage, New York is looking at new ways to provide affordable housing. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Discussing joint cooperation between the Sultanate and Korea and ways of developing them in the health aspects, top discussions between His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al-Saidi, Minister of Health, and His Excellency D.C. Kim, Korean Ambassador accredited to the Sultanate. During the meeting, they reviewed the final report on the strategic study of social health insurance in the Sultanate, conducted by a team of Korean experts. His Excellency also met the delegation of the Ministry of Health and Korean Medical Holding Company. A presentation was rendered by Young Iron Young, head of the Korean delegation, during which she displayed the final draft of the integrated study for health insurance application in the Sultanate. In order to provide necessary quantities of blood to save the lives of patients, the Public Authority for Radio and Television organized a blood donation campaign in which many employees of the authority took part. The donated blood will boost the blood bank reserve of the Sultanate, as it will be used to support patients of cancer and blood diseases and for those injured by traffic accidents. Thirty students from Sultan Qaboos University competed in the financial analysis competition that was organized in cooperation with Muscat Securities Market. The competition was considered the first of its kind and aimed to spread the culture of saving and investment among community members. During the competition, the students did a financial analysis of Ooredoo Company, registered in Muscat Securities Market. 3 groups qualified to the final rounds of the competition and presented the final report along with a visual presentation. The students expressed that the competition helped them to apply their studies on financial analysis as well as get experience and skills in this field. The Muscat Securities Market is keen to develop the culture of investment through the interaction with academic institutions in the Sultanate, in addition to evaluating the performance of companies registered in the market. Reviewing modern updates in the field of municipal and administrative work and keeping in line with developments in administrative aspects related to modifying the performance of municipal councils topped the aspects of discussion in the seminar of Business System in Successful Municipal Councils, which was organized by the Office of the Governor of North Batna. The 2-day seminar discussed also the method of affecting points of view, quality of administration, and strategy of innovation and solving problems. With the aim of promoting and marketing winter and summer agriculture produced by farmers of the Niyaba of Jebel al-Akhdar, an agricultural hosting project was inaugurated. The project, which is supervised by the Omani Company for Touristic Development, comes to support agriculture sector and contributed in uplifting the efficiency of farmers in Al-Jebel al-Akhdar. Saudi Arabia proposed a 5-day humanitarian truce in Yemen today after weeks of airstrikes and fighting, but said a ceasefire depended on the Houthi militia and its allies also agreeing to lay down arms. Meanwhile, dozens of Yemeni families fled their homes in the port of Aden and headed for safer areas of the city as clashes between Houthi fighters and militia loyal to the exiled president intensified. At least 80 people, many of them civilians, were killed in Aden overnight and yesterday as fighting raged between Houthi fighters and local supporters of President Hadi. The dead included at least 40 Yemeni civilians who were trying to flee heavy fighting in Aden when the Houthi fighters fired shells at their boat. Residents and local fighters said 40 other people, including a senior army officer, had been killed in fighting overnight in other parts of Aden, including an estimated 30 Houthi fighters and 10 local gunmen. They said Saudi-led airstrikes had helped the local fighters beat back a Houthi defensive on El Tawahi, knocking out 3 tanks. At a joint news conference, Saudi foreign minister said the kingdom would halt airstrikes in Yemen because it is determined to expand relief assistance to the Yemeni people. Saudi Arabia will provide $274 million in new assistance. The announcement was made after Kerry met King Salman and other top Saudi officials in Riyadh.
A ceasefire has been a long-standing goal of the international community, and we deeply respect the leadership in Saudi Arabia for stepping up, taking on this initiative, and saying to the world they're prepared to meet the humanitarian needs of the people of Yemen. Now, work is being done right now as we are here to define the precise details and the date of the commencement of this ceasefire, which will be soon, but the details need to be worked out. Foreign Minister Al-Jaber and I will say more about this in Paris tomorrow.
Bigger isn't always better, at least not when it comes to housing in New York, where space comes at a premium. To meet the already huge and growing demand for affordable housing, the Big Apple has found a mini solution: prefabricated micro apartments that range from 250 to 360 square feet. Here is a report.
New York, a city known for rents as high as its skyscrapers, is looking at new ways to provide affordable housing. The latest idea, micro apartments. The My Micro New York pilot project in the Kips Bay area of Manhattan will see construction of a 9-story building of 55 prefabricated units start in June. The 24 to 34 square metre apartments being built in Brooklyn come complete with 3-metre high ceilings, kitchenette, shower room, storage and a balcony. It's hoped the new style of apartment will help fill a growing hole in the city's housing supply.
The people who need this kind of apartment right now, they're making do in other ways. They're putting doors on bedrooms and turning a 1-bedroom into a 2-person living situation. They're putting bunk beds in rooms. They're partitioning rooms. They're making legal and illegal changes to the existing apartments that are out there.
One of the biggest obstacles to smaller affordable housing has been the Big Apple's strict zoning rules. Designed to help the traditional nuclear family, construction of housing units smaller than 37 square metres was banned in much of the city in 1987. However, with demographics changing drastically since then, a third of all households are now New Yorkers living alone. Officials are having to consider new regulations.
If you look at how people are really living, and you add that to the fact that there's so many people arriving and there's a limit to what you can really do with the confines of the city, then you have to think of new ways to use space on the inside of buildings. So the idea of shrinking a unit and increasing the density of buildings would accommodate more population, but it would also accommodate how people are really living.
When the New York City government started this pilot, they got more industry responses than any other project in the history of the housing department. However, it's not the first city to try this approach.
New York is actually a little bit behind when it comes to small unit building. All over America, Seattle, San Francisco, Boston, Washington, D.C., they all have what we would call micro units in construction, already built with people living in them.
New York's population is set to grow by around 1 million people in the next 25 years. And with no space to expand outwards, it's hoped that projects like this will encourage lawmakers to allow further expansion inwards.
Now for the general weather forecast. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with cloud accumulation over Hajar Mountains, with chances of rain over parts of the governorates of Musandam. Winds will be northeasterly light to moderate along the coast of the Sea of Oman, while it will be southerly to southeasterly light to moderate along the rest of the Sultanate. Seas along the coast will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 2.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The International Medical Laboratory Science and Quality Assurance Conference discusses the latest developments in this field. More than 230,000 tourists visit the Sultanate during the first quarter of the current year. The Sultanate signs a number of agreements at the Arabian Travel Market Exhibition in Dubai. And to promote and market agriculture producers of farmers of Jabal Al-Akhdar, an agricultural hosting project is inaugurated. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.